Time's up. Please step away. Step away from the car. Step away. Make sure it can. That's it. Who wins? A very short presentation, 1 minute, about what you learned from building this tower. How did you succeed or fail in the tower? Which ones of those tips were you able to use? So like that. You have a 1 minute presentation for your tower. So each group will stand next to the tower. They will. You will just. You worked overtime. You worked overtime. You worked past the time. Yeah, you did. You worked past the time. You did. You did. Tape for each match. Constructing something on our table, and we, the members of this group, have done this with the collective effort of all the participants and with cooperation, teamwork. We are able to do this successfully, and while doing this we have taken other things like shape, symmetry, height, and something that symbolizes according to the values of Christianity, like peace, love, mercy, and all these things are taken into consideration. And I hope that with teamwork we can work miracles. That's what I hope. All right. I had a very symbolic tower here. Okay. Yes, you want to describe it?
And we have sized the cones, and we have made independent cones. Each one of us has done an independent cone very quickly, and we started inserting one over the other. But sorry to tell you that our cell phone did not cooperate with us. But even then we have used our nails. Everyone has used our nails, and we could make it out with that one. And we have put the cones, and we have not taken the support of a table, but we have taken the Mother Earth.
They planned very carefully.
Yes.
They planned very carefully before they began building the tower. Yes. They made a plan.
So all of them were involved.
In spite of the trouble that they take, it is going to
Next.
Yes, sir.
Come on, next.
Like that we could take support in the group also.
Well, welcome everyone. So in order to construct this tower, it's unfortunately, Mother Earth shift our towers. So we took time for planning and of course strategy, and we shared the work among ourselves. And one gentleman, Mr. Narayan, cutting the paper, and Mr. Bomshinger rolling them, and Mr. Venkatesh fixing them one above, of course, one on the other one. And Prakaja ma'am, of course, she was monitoring the lapses and she was helping, and she is behind the building. And I myself supporting, respecting the ideas we started constructing the tower, and even we took the help of Father Earth. Father Sky, but some people objected, so it collapsed.
Look on the works, A mighty and just fire. Usman, yes, last time.
Yeah, right. That was my comparison.
Say that my tower is standing still.
Not my hour.
Our tower, yes. The teamwork here has played a great role. At first, we have great failures in making the water, and it doesn't stand at all. It has been collapsing again and again. We made a third effort, and our team leader, Mr. P.S. Ram, has made the turn and stirred on the earth. And we took the support of Mother Earth, no doubt of it. We have to start from here only, and so that Madam Srilata started to make all this. And Sridevi Madam has paste it, and so has done all the, he has been giving suggestions how to paste and how to make. And at one point everyone objected that we have been taking some help from this bench or that bench, but we made all the things to be kind of fun. Even then now it is standing erect without the help of much anywhere else, only from the Mother Earth. There we are standing like this, this tower is also standing. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. It's a symbol of teamwork.
Okay, one more. We have one more. So this group, I was sure this group was going to win. I was sure you were going to win because they were ahead of everybody. Because they started making the two, right? And I thought they had got it. But then what happened? What happened?
Actually, we were the big and we have started, the idea was Radhika's and I helped her in pasting, and rest of the 3 months they had been holding the paper. But the thing is, in the midway, we had got a twin tower, and then it looked like leaning tower of Pisa, and that was the reason why it fell. We know the reason for our success. Actually, the plan was us, basic plan was us, and we are happy that many of you published it. And it was unfortunate, but what I have learned is success. People help for success, and we have to be humble in order to accept the failure also. We are humble in the sense that it was rather in the midway it led.
Very feeble in the you are
Pizza tower is still standing, but yours has fallen. Meticulous planning.
holding the team.
One or two tips.
Holding
Good team player. What?
Overcoming difficult
overcoming difficulties. Collective effort.
Good masters. With bad intentions. Bad.
Tell us, a good team player.
Active participation.
Time management.
Our dictionary use that.
All right, presentation after. And do like I did, where they have to write a list of the features of a good team player, like that. So it's not just a noisy game, but they're practicing their English also. Okay? Can you do something like that?
Yes.
Srinivas, did you try this with your students?
Dictionary.
No, I didn't, but Gauri Shankar tried it in Chandragiri.
No.
It was successful, but it created a lot of noise. That was the complaint I received from the parents. Yeah, that's right. I don't know what they teach, but they don't make noise. And another thing is, it's a skill that doesn't teach you any communication skills, but it teaches you team skills. Only team skills. So I reserved it for someone. Whenever they get a chance.
So that's why I'm saying you have to make it useful for your students. So make them do a presentation, or make them do a list like that, so that you're connecting it to the theme of your class, which is here it's group.
Judge, I have something to say.
Yeah.
When I tried it in a workshop, I gave them blades, razor blade, and he anticipated that you were not supposed to give it. But I said nothing will happen. But what happened? I want that. So you can observe the way he drinks. That's what I learned from him. That's what you shouldn't give them. Better you give them scissors. That's all. Don't give them. That's it. You be very careful.
But I insisted no scissors, no.
Yeah, this time. Okay.
Because it's dangerous.
Okay. We had a problem there.
Any doubts or suggestions for that activity? How you can make it better, maybe? How we can improve the activity? How you can improve it? Can you improve this activity?
This is actually by limiting the number of the team players. More number, more players.
Yeah, you can't use too many on the team. Is this a good number? Five is a good number. And you have to link it to the idea of group discussion, group work, teamwork. Link it to that idea. And yeah. So you can do this maybe. You can do it in one lesson, maybe 1 hour. You can do it. So if you do it at the JKC, do it like I did it and have some introduction. What are the important skills for teamwork? You get the vocabulary, like put the vocabulary, good teamwork skills, what are they? Make them write a list, make them do group work, and then they do the activity, and then they have to make a presentation. Like that.
Also gives a moral that a good master doesn't name his tools.
All right, if you want to take photographs, you can, and then we'll clean up the mess and we'll go have lunch. All right? Before we go on, I want to look at these other, what they call cooperative learning structures. These are all very useful classroom techniques. And they don't call them activities, but they call them structures. Because once you understand the structure, you can do so many activities with that structure. So for example, think, pair, share. Think, pair, share, we did it already. It's not an activity, really, but it's a technique, right? So once you understand the technique, you can use it with many different topics or many different variations. Like this morning, we did a version of TPS, didn't we? Do you remember how we did it this morning? How did we do it this morning?
We did.
No, this morning, early, first thing. Yeah. What was the question?
Yesterday's activity.
Yeah.
Group discussion.
No, yesterday's activity.
Think of activities from yesterday that you liked. And you wrote it by yourself.
That
And
three
then you
activities
stood.
that we liked most of yesterday and we have
Right. And then you stood and you made pairs. And then we clapped and you made more pairs. That was a version of think, pair, share. So once you understand the technique, you can use it with any topic. And you can think of different variations. So think, pair, share. All of these, they're not like activities that you do separate from your syllabus. You can use them with any topic. If you're teaching a science class, you can use TPS. If you're teaching mathematics, you can use TPS. Right? So all of these are similar in that they're techniques, not activities really. Think, pair, square, that's very similar. So imagine I have two pairs. They're working together, and then I say, now put the two pairs together and make a group. That's all. Think, pair, square. That's what that is. You understand? Yeah, you got it?
Yes.
Two pairs and then a group. Three-step interview. This is another nice technique. Again, you can use it with any topic. And the way it works is, for instance, I interview him, whatever the topic is, and then I tell him what I learned from him. That's all. A three-step interview. So we have an interview, and then I report to him, and then he can tell her what he learned from me. Have you got it? A three-step interview. So imagine I'm interviewing him. Maybe he has some information here about group work. Right? He has a text about group work. And I interview him and I find out all the information about group work from him. And then I go to another person and I tell him what I learned from him. Yeah. A three-part interview. So I interview him and then I share the information with him. That's all. Yeah, for students. This is all for students. We do all this in the class. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, not the teacher, students. So like, he would interview you, he finds out all your biographical information, and then he tells it to him.
Student will speak
That's
and
all.
give the marker pen on the table. Another student will speak and he
Talking chips.
this student should not
classrooms use this. And sometimes they use it in kindergarten for very young students. And the way it works, there's different variations. But one variation is like you put a number of maybe pencils in the middle of the table, right? We have 5 students, 5 pencils, and you're doing a group discussion, and if you want to speak, you take 1 pencil and you can speak. And then when you want to speak, you take a pencil. When all the pencils are gone, then you begin again, like that. It's to make sure everybody gets a turn. Another variation is you all begin with a pencil. When you want to speak, you put it down, and then you cannot speak again. You cannot speak again until everybody has put their pencil down. It's a way of making everybody participate. And another version of that is you have just one object in the middle of the table, and when you want to speak, you take the objects. That's all. It's to guarantee that everybody takes turns. Have you done this before? So they practice it in some American classrooms to enforce turn-taking for group work. You can try it and see if you like it. I don't use it that much, but I know some teachers like it a lot. All of these are also in your handbook. Toss a question. I think you know that one. Have we done this one? Toss a question. Yeah.
7th and 8th we did yesterday.
So the question toss, we already did it.
7th also.
But you can do it in different versions. Like you can say a question like, if you're checking answers in the book, say the students have to write some questions and answers, and then I would go, question number 5, and then I throw a ball. And the student who catches it has to answer. And then he throws the ball, question number 6. And then also, it's a way to be sure that all the students can participate, not just the most talkative students. Blackboard share, we did it.
We did yesterday.
Number heads together. This is another activity to encourage group work, not activity, technique. In this, all the students have a number, so I count off, say 1. And then again, 1. Yeah.
Students know about the different things to prove products of other things work.
Okay, count. 1, 2, 4. Fine. So you all have a number. For this technique, maybe there are some questions in the book, right? I was looking at your textbook. And so imagine all the students are whatever, they're answering questions on page 137. So I say in your group, as a group, you must answer all the questions on page 137. And in your group, check to be sure everybody knows the answer. Make sure everybody in your group knows the answer. because in a minute I will check. And anybody must be able to answer the question. So, number heads together, you put your heads together, everybody solves the answer, you be sure everybody in your group knows the answer, and then the teacher checks. And it's a random check. I say, this group, number 5, tell me the answer. So whoever is student 5, he must be able to answer for the group. Anybody in the group must be able to answer. And then I say, this group, number 4, give me your answer, like that. Or I say, number 4s, raise your hand, and then all number 4s must be able to answer. But it's very good for cooperative learning because all the group must have the same answer. And then you ask one person to test the group. And anybody in the group must be able to answer. So that's number of heads together. And gallery tour. We haven't done a gallery tour yet, but in a gallery tour, each group has to make a poster about some topic. Maybe this group, they have to make a poster about interviews, the first stage of the interview, greetings. And this group, we have to make a poster about, what's the second stage of the interview? Greetings in small talk. What's the next stage? Tell me about yourself. Next stage. Interview questions. So each group has a topic. They have to make a poster about the topic. And they put the poster on the wall and they stand with their poster. And then the other students, they go from poster to poster and they review the information. That's the one here. Rotate the poster review. The students make posters, and the other students go and they look at the posters. That's all. But the posters contain some information from the class. Like, this one, yeah, we need to read it. Oh, sorry. The one I was describing is the gallery tour. For the rotating poster review, that's different. I was describing that one. The rotating poster review is different.
What we did just now while making towers.
We did in the morning session.
This one. I'll explain this one. So in the rotating poster review, and I've used this before, it's a really nice technique. So imagine with my class, I want to review the parts of speech. What are the main parts of speech?
Noun, pronoun, adjective, verb, preposition, and then
Something like that. And so I give each team a marker. We did this before. Each team a marker. And each team, you have to come to the board and write one sentence or one item, what you remember about nouns. Like, what is a noun, or give an example, how is it used. And then another team has to write one thing about verbs. You can do it on the board, or you can do it on posters. Each poster has a different topic. And then each team, or even each student comes and they add more information. They read what's on the poster and they add more information. And At the end, each poster should be filled with all the information from the students. It's a way to review what you have already taught. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah.
It's like board share. It's like board share. When you put it on posters, and you use it for a review. And students write what they remember about the topic. And then they go to the next poster, they write whatever they remember about the topic. And then at the end, all the posters should be filled with what the students remember.
Are they going to avoid what is written already?
Yes, yes, if they already see it, they don't repeat it. They have to add something new. If they think it's wrong what their classmate wrote, they can put a question mark or they can correct it. But it's a very student-centered way to review some information. Poster share or Blackboard share. And then do you all discuss business attire in your JKC? Business trips. Okay, close your books. Close your books. Let's do a class break. The teacher-centered method would be I just lecture to you. I tell you what is proper business dress. Proper business dress. Better, if I want to do student-centered, I use the eliciting technique, right? So I ask the students, tell me, what do you know already about proper business dress? Because your students, they all know a little bit, right? Tell me, what do you think is proper business clothing for men? Tell me one thing.
Men formal.
And who has good handwriting? Yeah, man, come. You can let your students write on the board sometimes too, instead of the teacher always writing. So, men should be formal.
Preferably dark colored pants, light colored shirts.
Fine. Do you all agree? Did you get that? Repeat.
Dark colored pants and trousers or pants, pantaloons, trousers, and light colored full length shirts.
Tell us one more thing for men. One more thing for men. What about the shoes?
Leather shoes, with
Dress shoes. Dress shoes, nice shoes.
Not a flashy
Leather
type.
dress shoes. What color should the shoes be? Dark shoes. Dark dress shoes. What else for men? Tell me.
shoes, socks, dark colored,
Dark socks.
and also belt,
Waistbelt.
not with any flashy buckle.
Are you getting all this?
What says belt, which is waistbelt.
Socks, he said socks. Stockings. What else for men? Say, a little bit of jewelry, like a ring or a bracelet.
For men?
But in America,
A minimum.
maybe
Only a watch.
Welcome there.
leather strap. This one with leather strap.
Yeah.
Blazer.
If it's very formal, a blazer, a suit.
Generally for MBA people, when they go for interviews, they wear blazer.
Yeah.
For technical jobs, they don't require. Just formal dresses in it.
And then you mentioned grooming. What did you say about grooming?
Yeah. Neatly shaven.
Clean shaven.
Yeah.
Clean shaven.
Well, what did you say about the hair?
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
Not shabby.
Shaven the hair.
Preferably using some gel.
To soften the hair.
Yes. For the ear better.
And smile on the lips.
Of course.
Smile.
Now, what about women? Oh, sir.
Madam, you have to respond.
Okay, tell us one advice for women, for business dress for women.
Less no jewelry. Less jewelry or no jewelry.
Okay, let's begin with the clothes. You agree? What kind of sari? Any kind? Wait, 2 minutes. Light colored. Light colored cotton. Light colored cotton.
Simple. Present affair.
What about shoes?
Sandals. Sandals.
Can we say nice sandals? Nice sandals.
No need.
What about jewelry? Simple jewelry? Can we say simple jewelry? And what about grooming for women?
Well plated. Well plated.
Not loose hair.
Sir, either sari or chudidar, normal wear. That's all size.
Can we say neat hair? Neat hair? Neat hair.
Watch.
Enough? All right, think about how we did that just now. Who did most of the talking? Students. What did I do?
You are just.
Right, it's called the eliciting technique. And another way to think of it is as because your students, maybe they already know this. Or if there are 40 students, at least a few will know it. And if they all say something, then you can put it on the board. Right? So again, you're trying to make the students participate more. And the eliciting, it's a technique. I mean, you can't just say, okay, you tell me. That's not eliciting. Eliciting is when you say, everybody tell me your opinion. And maybe you will not get the answer right away, so you have to keep rephrasing the questions and guiding the students, and maybe you can get the answer. But the answer should come from the students.
So practice it in your classes, and I think the students enjoy it more because it makes them more active. Instead of just the teacher talking, you're making the students talk. You're calling on the students to say things. Eliciting is not this. This is not eliciting. Sir, stand up. Tell me one article of men's clothing. Men's clothing. Men's business clothing. Men's clothing. Men's business clothing. White shirt. Thank you. Is that eliciting?
No. Question.
Yeah, that's a direct question. It's a close-ended questioning. Eliciting, you do the full class. You say, students, you know a little bit about business dress. Tell me, what should a man wear? Everybody, tell me, what do you think? Anybody? Formal, shoes, like that, right? You're making the students talk. Yeah, you might get many answers, and you're listening, and you take the correct answer. So that's a listening technique. And I use it a lot during the workshop, don't I? Yeah, so you can practice that too. And the next topic in our agenda is this. Okay, there.
Makeup and perfume, you are
This is American again. So business etiquette. Here, and in your handbook, there's a lot of information about business etiquette. There's a lot of information. So, if you have a lot of information like that, how can you teach it in a student-centered classroom without just lecturing? How can you do that? It's a lot of information. I want my students to learn all of this information, but I don't want to lecture. What can you do? Yeah, but still, the teacher is giving the synopsis, so that's still teacher-centered. What else can you do?
Show them a video. Video clipping.
Yeah. Can I make it even more student-centered? Here's what I like to do, and you'll see this technique used a lot in American universities. So imagine we have a lot of information to present. I put my students in groups, and I divide the information among the groups. So here, I've cut up the information into cards, right, into sheets. It's all the information, and I give one sheet. It's similar to jigsaw. I give one sheet to each group. And I say, and I tell the groups now, in your group, study that information and be ready to give a presentation. Be ready to teach that information to the class. It's completely student-centered. I don't teach, the students will teach each other. But the teacher, you have to go and help them to be sure they understand what they're reading, right? And you go from group to group, and you help them understand it. And then at the end, I give them 30 minutes or however, they prepare the presentation, and then I say, now your group, stand up and teach us what you learned. And then the other students have to take notes, right? And then they sit down, and the teacher, you add, if they forgot anything, you help them. Then the next group, they stand up, they make a presentation on their topic, the students take notes, and so on. So the teacher is not lecturing, the students are giving the presentation. So this is good for two reasons. First, it's completely student-centered. Actually, three reasons. You can cover a lot of information, and the students get presentation skills practice. right? They get practice in presentation skills because they have to present the information. Clear? If you have posters, the students in their group, they can also make posters. And then they do poster presentations for their topic. They can do demonstrations. We don't have time to do it now, but when I did it in Hyderabad, the teachers made presentations for each topic. And some of them did demonstrations. And they were very, very funny. Like, what is your topic?
Office workspace.
Office workspace. So one of the groups, they did a demonstration of good office workspace habits and bad office workspace habits. And so one employee would be here and had a terrible office workspace like that, and the other had a good office workspace. It was very funny. They did like short skits. Okay, any questions about that? I noticed, for example, in your book, there's a lot of information in that. A lot of information. Here, for example, there's a whole section on time management. And there's a lot of information on time management. What you can do is you divide it into sections. Give one section to each group, and let the group teach it to the class, so that it's not only the teacher who is lecturing. Yeah, have you got it? It depends on the level of your students. They have to be able to read it and understand it and then present it. So it depends on what their level is. I'll take those cards. Is this idea of a mock job fair. Mock job fair. And all of this material is given in your handbook. When I was teaching in Japan, they asked us to teach our students job skills. And this is what I did to teach the job skills. We did a job fair. And the whole the class lasted maybe a month. It was about a month. These were intermediate students. And I included all of this in the job fair lesson. And this is the description of how I did it in Tokyo. And you can find it in your handbook. So, the way it worked basically was that first I divided the students into candidates and employers, right? Job seekers, employers. And I said, employers, and they worked in groups, and I said, in your group, invent a company. Invent a company. Give a name to your company and say what your company does. And then they had to write an advertisement for their company, like a job notice. We are looking for a secretary, must have good typing skills. We're looking for an office boy, must have good English skills, like that. And I told them each to write 3 positions, open positions that they have, 3 jobs that they have open. So each company, they prepared a company profile and their job notice. Have you got it? It was an imaginary company. So the students invented a company, wrote a company profile and 3 jobs that they had. Then the other students, the applicants, they had to make their resume and they had to practice their introductions, practice the self-introduction. And then on the job fair, on the day of the job fair, the companies, each company, they sit at the table. So we had one company here, one company here, one company here, and so on. And the students in class, they had made their resumes, and they went one by one to the companies, and they had to do an interview. And the companies, they had a checklist. They were looking for, the best candidates. So they were looking at English ability, communication skills, presentation skills, and so on. And also they wanted to find a good match for their jobs. And then the student would go to the next company, do an interview. Go to the next company, do an interview. Like that. And then at the end, the companies, they came and they announced who they chose for the job. Like that. And then we switched. And then the other students, the students who were the candidates, they became employers. And they had to make a company and write a profile and do a job description. So the students enjoyed it, and it was a very good way to organize all of the skills, because you had interview skills, resume writing, and business attire, because I told them to come dressed properly. And then at the end, they got to do like a mock interview practice. You do something similar, I think, with the mock interviews? Yeah. I mean, the difference is that I also made students create the companies, and the students had to do the interviews. Any questions about that? So all the information about how I did it, it's there in the handbook. You can try it if you want, have a look at it and see if you want to use it. Here, for instance, I gave the template for the resume to the students, and the students had to complete the template. You have the same in your book. And then the students had to prepare for the interview by filling out this worksheet. What days are most important to your job, and so on. When can you work? What are your strong points? And then the companies, I gave them this worksheet. What's the name of your company? What kind of business? Who are your customers? What job openings do you have? And then the interview questions. So the companies had to prepare their questions. It looks complicated, but the students, they were intermediate, and they in their groups, they filled out these worksheets. So with the worksheets, they could do it. Because I gave them a lot of help, and then they could do this. And then there are some examples there of what the students wrote. So you can look at all that. What time is tea? At 3:15 or 3:30? 3:15. Are you ready?
Everybody is getting sleepy.
Okay, so I've given you so many ideas for activities. But in your lessons, you have to organize them into some logical sequence. You can't just throw activities at the students. So here we have a lesson plan. This is a 1-hour lesson plan, but it's all cut up. It's a jumbled lesson plan. In your group, you have to try to arrange it in a logical sequence for the lesson. And I'll tell you, the lesson plan, it's a poster activity. The students have to make a poster and present it to the class, that's all. But you have to read it, be sure you understand what the lesson is, and then try to put them in order. There are letters for each step. The letters are not the order. They're all mixed up, okay? So, there you go. There you go. Close your book. Close your book. Close the book. Close your book. Close your book. Put the lesson in order. That's for the teacher. That's for the teacher. Now you go to the steps.
Objectives, text materials, then introduce the students to project, explain purpose, draw a picture of poster on board. 3 minutes. Students denote photos of themselves and the pictures of famous people. Students break into groups of 5, 2 minutes. In large, clear letters, students write captions of their photos. Students write about themselves, photos of posters, plus captions they wrote, add titles, expressions, remind them to speak English. Put posters on wall. Students read other group posters. Discuss completed projects with students. Give feedback on posters. Hear surveys of English
Check the last. Everything's fine. Check the last. Yes. Well, so they're writing captions, I think, on slips of paper. And then they stick the caption on the page captions, right?
Days of photographs, followed by
Writing captions now is practically same captions.
Fast and best. Yes. Fast and best. Complete. Last,
When will they correct it?